Hey, fellow pilgrims, welcome to a Pilgrim Lost bonus podcast episode. Where we've got Mark Portrait, producer Mark, on the line with a live what's going on in the middle of the Camino. He's in Leon right now, so he's about 2/3 of the way through his Camino. He has so much to share about his heart experience, his relational experience, how his body's holding up, all of that stuff. So please stay on and listen to this really special bonus pod. But before we go there, I wanted to tell you about something. Our friend Kari Gale, who helped start Pilgrim Lost, she's one of the people who created the idea. She is having an online workshop on travel art, and it's called The Art of Walking Camino de Santiago Pilgrim Journal Online Workshop. So if you love the Camino, if you love the idea of art and learning more about art, if you love the idea about how to capture your experiences in something so personal as your own drawing, your own colors, your own ability to put it down on paper, this is something to check out. It is taking place August 6th, and the registration deadline is July 27th. And if you're outside the US, it is July 6th. So go to carigale.com. You'll see right on the first page. You can just click and go and register for this wonderful workshop that we're excited to support. So go, Kari, and let's get to Mark. Welcome to Pilgrim Lost. Come walk with us while we explore life in hopeful motion. All right, believe it or not, we're here with producer Mark. Producer Mark, who is more than halfway through his pilgrimage along the Camino de Santiago. He can see the cathedral on the horizon. His heart is full of song. Mark, how are you?
I'm doing great, Tony. I'm just absolutely loving every step and every minute of the Camino Frances. It's fabulous.
Well, just start by just giving us you know, how's it been? Has it met your expectations? Like how would you describe the experience? I mean, you've been walking now for 20 days, close to 20 days.
Longer, close to 30 days, getting closer to 30 days.
Okay.
I flew out of Portland on the 9th of May, arrived in Saint Jean Pied de Port on the 10th. Had a quiet rest day there to kind of get the jet lag out of my system, and then headed up the Pyrenees on the 12th. So getting close to 3.5 weeks here. So yeah, and it has been really interesting in many respects. The trip up and over the Pyrenees was rigorous, but I don't think anywhere near as difficult as I anticipated. I had real reservations about it, read a lot about it, and lots of people were just really struggling. And one of the things that's been interesting for me is that I've discovered I really like climbing. And so the uphill sections have actually been kind of fun. And there's more coming when I get to the other side of Astorga. There's some more climbing to get to Santiago, but I like the uphill. It's got a nice rhythm to it. My body likes it. My heart rate climbs, and it's actually been pretty cool. So, the physical side has been pretty good. My feet are good. My body feels great. I have aches and pains, but I haven't really broken down at any point or had any real failure of my body. So that is a great relief, because the body that I selected to bring with me is an old one. And I applied for a young one, and I was denied.
You were denied.
I had to take the one that I was dealt. So on that note, I will tell you, and you know this, the bodies, the shapes, the ages of the men and women out here walking is just astounding. And sometimes you look at someone and you think, oh, they can't. It's just that they're not built for this, and they just go flying past you. Um, there's a woman that I met from Australia who's walked several different caminos in Spain. Her name is Robin. She's probably in her early 70s. She's thin as a rail, and I couldn't keep up with her. She absolutely just blew past me, and I tried to keep up after we chatted briefly, and I had no chance. She's just a beast. So, and you meet people that look like they're way out of shape, and they're doing great too. So it's a really interesting process how people respond to the physical side.
Okay. I want to hear about two things. I want to hear about just the whole relational dynamic. So let's start with that. Talk to me about what you're experiencing relationally.
Well, one of the things that I think I was concerned about, and I know that my wife was concerned about, was that I just anticipated long periods of solitude, and it just has not happened. Matter of fact, of all the days I've walked, I've only had one day from start to finish where I was alone. You just meet so many people, and so the relational side has been extraordinary. I've met people from uh, virtually all parts of the world, people from Taiwan, people from Australia, lots of Brits, lots of Irish, um, tons of Germans. So it's been really, really an international experience, and I don't think I anticipated just how wonderful all of that was going to turn out to be. I met four women that were traveling together from Northern Ireland. They're from Belfast. One was a minister, the other three were attorneys, super smart women. And I was traveling with them for the better part of a week, and it was absolutely just a hoot. They're just so much fun. You tend to, separate from time to time, and then you kind of find each other at a cafe somewhere on the way, or at the end of the day, you contact each other and you end up having dinner together. So we've had some wonderful, wonderful, wonderful times. It's amazing how quickly relationships form here.
Mhm.
That is something that I don't think I really understood before I came out, and that you have, in some respects, you maintain. You build intimate relationships very, very quickly. You
Right.
talk about things that, if you were meeting someone in your hometown, you might have a handful of get-togethers before you even started to sort of reveal a little bit about the things that might be troubling you, or things that you're struggling with, or challenges that you have in your life. But on the Camino, it seems to happen within the first kilometer. And
Right.
so you have these crash courses on getting to know each other. And it's wonderful because everyone seems to be traveling in that same mode. And
Right.
as a result, there's lots of opportunities to sort of for introspection and dialogue and really, really good stuff. So that's been really, really wonderful. Some of the people I've met, people are in tears within a day of sitting
Right.
down and having a beer and talking. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot of people here that are just resetting their lives. So emotionally,
Right.
spiritually, there's a lot of depth to what's going on. So
Mhm.
you meet people. I met a woman in Sagun who was she was a volunteer at a monastery, and she happened to be sitting out on a park bench, and I was waiting to get into a mass, and we started chatting, and she just lost her husband. They've been married for, I think, close to 50 years, and she was really here to try to sort through what the rest of her life was going to look like.
Wow.
But and that was within 10 minutes of our meeting. And so there's people here that are really, really wrestling with some difficult things: losing a spouse, a marriage that's failed, children that they're estranged from, or young people that are in school and not quite sure that they are pursuing the right career direction. So they come out to try to sort through what they're doing. So there are people here that are moving recreationally, Tony, but not many, not very many,
Right.
not many that I've met. The majority
Right.
of people here are here for a real purpose.
Yeah, it just reminds me, we started this whole thing because of this belief that the Camino wasn't this fanciful thing. It might actually be more real than normal life. It might be more what humanity was meant to be, not in the trappings of life, because obviously you're not going to work and all those other things, but in the experience, how we experience life. It might be closer to reality. There's this very, very old spiritual idea. It seemed like for as far back as we have record, the priests were a class of people. They were like this special group of spiritual people within the tribe or within the nation or within the country or whatever. And they were responsible for sort of the spirituality of the greater community. And then there's this amazing turn that happens 2000 years ago where it goes, no, everyone is a priest. Live
Yeah,
as if everyone is a priest, and therefore every room is a confessional.
yeah,
Every room is a chance to be ministered to, and you can minister and they can minister right back within the moment. And that sounds like that's what you're experiencing.
100%. That's a really good description of exactly what's transpiring. The speed and ferocity of it is stunning
Yeah,
sometimes,
love
um,
that.
and and it's been very, very worthwhile. Just lots of things, lots of learning, lots of interesting things. One thing that is a little off topic, but something that I think has been made a big impression on me, is that when you travel in a part of the world that is ancient, you realize just how unique we are in the West, especially the Western United States, where if a building's 100 or 150 years old, it's like
Right.
a huge deal. And the majority of buildings are not. Towns are, formed, incorporated in 1938. And when you travel through communities where these buildings are so old, we 2 days ago we hiked past and I stopped and went through a church that was built by the Knights Templar probably 800 years ago.
Yeah.
It's still standing.
Yeah.
And when you see buildings like that, you begin to get a sense for your role just passing through. I mean, and when I say passing through, I don't mean walking. I mean in life. You're
Right.
just you're just passing through. You have a short stint to impact the community and family and people around you. And I don't sense that in the West. In the West, everything feels sort of infinite. Like no one came before you, no one's coming after you. And here it's very different. And I think there's a humility that comes with
Right.
that type of an experience.
Yeah.
So that was new for me. I mean, I've traveled a bit around the world, but
That's good.
that this is giving me a greater appreciation for it because of the amount of you know the amount of old structures and old
Right.
communities.
Right. Yeah. I observe it as in the West, again, this is what I know. I'm from Oregon, Western United States. Uh, we're so culturally, our story's so young, particularly those of us who are immigrated here. I'm not talking about the indigenous people.
Mhm.
And there's this thought that my story is the most important story. Like the thing that's happening right now is the most important thing that's ever happened, and you get in some older cultures around older people, indigenous people, and like, no, we're just writing a page, we're just a part of this thing. We're just adding a line to the poem is all we're doing. And am I hearing you correctly?
100%. Yeah, that's very much how it feels. It's funny. I went and toured the Cathedral de Santa Maria de Leon today. It's the cathedral here in Leon. It is absolutely astounding.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
is.
it's a massive, massive structure
Yes.
and breathtaking on the inside. I mean, you get inside of it, and it literally it takes your breath away. It was built in 50 years, which by standards of these types of buildings, that was like a rush job, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they built it in 50 years. Well, I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen a building in the United States that took 50 years to build, and yet this one, they built it magnificently in 50, and they did it was a rush job.
Right.
So, so yeah, it's very, very different. It's just, it's really, really wonderful. The people are great. The locals, for the most part, seem genuinely happy to see you. You run into a few grumpy people, but that's the same everywhere. But I do find that they are genuinely happy to see pilgrims, and there's lots of people waving and cheering you on as you're walking, which is really encouraging.
It's great. How
Yeah.
about anything you can share or would like to share about just sort of your inner life and what you've been processing or what's been going on there? You don't have to get into details because I know that stuff you're in a tender part of it.
Yeah. Yes, I will tell you that, I recently retired from my professional life. And so this is a hinge, if you want, if you will, a kind of a hinge moment into a new life. And it has caused me to really deeply evaluate everything about what I do and who I am and how I go about doing what I do. And that has been really, really significant. How it all plays out when I get home remains to be seen. But the experience that I'm having here is that I've been able to tap into what I believe is more of the core of who I am as a person, and less of whatever I kind of created to move myself professionally through my career. And that has been really very refreshing. Um, the way that people have responded to hanging out with me has been really unusual. That has taken me aback a bit. It surprised me a bit, and there has been genuine affection for being together, and that has also been a bit of a surprise. So I've had a chance to dig in and look at some things that I might not have looked at in the busyness of life, even retired life. And that has been super refreshing. So I'm keeping a journal, lots of notes I'm taking on things that I'm thinking about. And as a friend of mine who just got off the Camino told me, it takes a while to decompress when you get back and sort through everything that you experienced and how you're going to move forward with the new toolbox that you accumulate on the way.
I'm not going to keep you much longer. Do you want to tell the shoe story?
I'd be happy to. It's a Camino miracle. There's all these things that seem to be happening along the way here that just work out, which is such a joy. But I trained for the better part of a year, and I settled on a particular shoe that I fell in love with. It's the Hoka Speed Goat 4, and I went through a couple of pair at home, and I talked to the guys at REI, and they were like, you might get 500 miles out of a pair, but it's going to be a push. Well, long story short, I'm about 275 miles in, and I'm losing tread really fast, and I've got climbing that's coming and maybe weather, and I can't really, I just I couldn't use the shoes for the entire trip. There was no way they were going to last. They'll be like bowling shoes, smooth on the bottom by the time I'm done, which is not super safe. So I got online and started poking around trying to figure out where I could buy a pair. And there's not a ton of Hoka dealers in Spain, but there's a few. And I tried contacting a handful in Lyon and had very little success. Usually language was a problem. I can't just get, I don't have a car. When I got here, I couldn't just run all over Lyon, going shoe store to shoe store. But it didn't look like I was going to be able to find a pair. And I finally spoke to one guy who said, well, we're just going to have to put you into a different brand. And that made me really nervous because the number one thing people focus on over here is feet. And so my feet are doing really well, but that's because I got a certain sock I wear and a certain shoe, and I can't really, the prospect of changing shoes, brands, was just really kind of freaking me out. So I finally decided that maybe what I would do is I would see if I couldn't find a online store that had my shoe and could ship to my hotel somewhere in Lyon or further down the road so that I could get them. And that was going to be complicated because it just had to land on the right day. And if it was a day late, I'd be gone. And it felt like a bit of a crapshoot. So I found an online store that actually carried the brand that I wanted. I found the shoe, and they had 3 sizes. They had like an 8, an 8.5, and a 12.5, which was my size. So nice. I just freaked out. I'm like, oh my gosh, they have exactly my shoe, the color of the shoe, as if that matters, and the size, which was super important.
Now, how are you going to get them?
Yeah, that was the next thing. It's like, how do I get them shipped to Lyon? And I went to the contact page of the website and discovered it was a brick and mortar store in Lyon that was using the site to market odds and ends. And so I frantically contacted them, and in my broken Spanish and their broken English, pleaded for them to hold the shoes.
Hold the shoes.
Don't sell those shoes. And so yesterday I got into Lyon, and it was about a 2-kilometer hike to get, after a fairly long day, to get to the shoe store. It was on the other side of town. And this is a big city. And I got there, and there they were behind the counter on the floor. And I'm thrilled. So I have a brand new pair of the exact size and model of shoe that I've been walking in. I wore them today around town and broke them in a little bit, and they're great. So I'm very, very grateful. So the rest of my trip, feet-wise, I think should be good.
Well, a Camino miracle.
Can I add one more thing, Tony? It's just on maybe a little bit more serious note, but I was contacted by a friend yesterday who decided at the last minute to come over with his wife and hike, and got to Logroño, and he's like on a plane back to the States today. Just absolutely couldn't do it. And I was gonna say, for people that are considering doing this, it's an absolutely remarkable experience, and I would recommend it to anyone. But it is a serious challenge physically, and not to be taken lightly. And it requires a really structured, disciplined period of time to train and get ready. And I was really sad for my friend. It felt like a real loss for him, and he just flat out just couldn't do it.
Okay. Any other thoughts before we go?
No, I just thank you for the support. I've gotten lots of love online from folks watching the few things that I'm posting on the Pilgrim Lost Instagram page. I haven't posted anything on Facebook, but just on Instagram. And I really appreciate the kind thoughts, everyone's support. Thank you for your support. You are solely responsible for me being over here, because you had such a great experience in 2019 that it inspired me to do it. So thank you. And I look forward to getting back home and getting more podcasts moving.
Everybody, that's producer Mark. We miss him, but don't hurry back. Enjoy yourself.
I will.
We'll see you on the backside. Everybody, thanks for spending a moment with us and just hearing producer Mark's story as he's in the middle of the thing that we so often talk about, Camino de Santiago. And come join us at pilgrimlost.com. and on Instagram and Facebook. Thanks so much. Thanks, Mark. Thanks for getting
Mike
lost with us,
Camino.
Mark.